Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Now, today I am joined by the amazing Sylvester Barzey. Sylvester, how you doing today, man?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm
Dude,
excited.
it is such an honor, and I just want to say I knew how to pronounce your last name. Didn't even have to ask. We didn't have to do any extra takes, so that's
Yeah.
always good. Um,
Yeah.
just before we talk about the reason that you're here, Sylvester, I would like for the people that don't know you to get to know you a little bit. Sylvester is a best-selling author of horror and fantasy. He grew up in the Bronx, fuck the Yankees, and was later transported to Lawrence, Georgia.
Uh,
Now, a big thing about Sylvester, something, you know what, and I don't get into this too much because I don't like to put my personal beliefs out there. I like to, be Sledgehammer Horror, not Ken Sledge. But
mhm,
one thing I want to talk about real quick is I have never been a fan of the military. Now, what I want
mhm,
to clarify with this is our veterans are super important and they have my whole heart, my whole soul. My grandpa served in the Navy. I couldn't be any more proud of him. But the way that our United States military takes care of our veterans, once they are done, they don't get treated the way they should be. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because you are a military veteran. And a big part of this is we love horror. We love being scared. We love reading. We love movies. But man, you lived a fucking horror story. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your service to this country, the sacrifices that you made, because I know that even if you've never seen a battlefield, even if you've never left this country, you signed
mhm.
up for it and you were
Yeah.
ready to go out there. You took an oath, you were ready to fight for this country. And I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for your service and the sacrifices that you and your family made while you were active military. So I hope that, down the road, everything is fine with you. You don't ever need any VA assistance, but I hope that if that day does come, that you get the assistance and help that you need. So let's start at the
Yeah.
top here real quick. Let's start with being a veteran first. How long were you active for?
I was active duty for about 4 years, and then I was a reservist for the rest of the time. Do math, what is that, 5 years? So I was in for like 9 years. So yeah.
You're much more brave than I, man. So thank you. Because of brave men and women like you, I get to go into a Wendy's and order a large fry whenever I want. So I appreciate the sacrifices that you guys made just for the things that we take for granted every day if we've never
Yeah.
served.
I
So
mean, it was I don't know. I guess I never really think about that. I know it's bravery for some, but it was just kind of like I was at a crossroads in my life, and the military made me a much better person. I think I was a little less structured and a little more wild than, I mean, I was a lot wild in the military, but it's more organized. It's more like I know I have to go to work, so I need to stop, go to sleep. Yeah. So the military gave me as much as I gave them. Um, but it is true the military doesn't take care of the veterans the way they should, and it's like we're the soldiers, we're just people doing a job. The worst part about it is that we have tasks and we have jobs that we need to do, and there's people that are above us that have the final say in things. So it's like I do get on social media and stuff, and then some people will be like, "Oh, you were like, I don't know, bringing tyranny to another country," and I was just like, I was just told to go on a plane, like it's kind of.
and when I said that, I didn't mean anything insulting and I didn't mean
Oh
any
no,
offense. Like I
yeah,
said,
no, no.
the veterans that have served our country, I think that they
Mm.
are, and you say, oh, it's bravery. Bro, if I see a spider in my house, I want to burn the fucker down and move. I couldn't imagine having a fucking fully loaded gun in my hand. You know what I mean? Like, so
Oh
to
yeah.
me, it's the epitome of bravery. I know to you, it's almost second nature now. 9 years.
Mm.
It's just, like you said, it's time to go to work. That's what it is. It's time
Yeah.
to go to work. For
Yeah.
someone like me, we'd be speaking Chinese right now. We'd be taking over. We'd be fucked. I wouldn't have nothing to do.
Oh,
So, like I
that's
said, I know
hilarious.
that a lot of times you hear this, thank you for your service, and it just almost becomes second nature. But like I said, my grandfather served in the Navy. I'm very, very proud of him. He's
Mhm.
somebody I call him every year on Veterans Day. I call, just I want to
Yeah.
be the first person to call him and tell him, hey man, thank you for what you did. So it's very special to be able to have
Yeah.
somebody here that not only is an amazing author, but a real life hero. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And with your writing, you also want to bring, a spotlight to BIPOC characters within the horror fantasy community, which is Black, Indigenous people of color. Is that something that when you started writing, horror and fantasy, did you always know that you wanted, your BIPOC characters to be the foreground of your books, or is that something that just kind of came out later on? As
Actually, yeah, like when I started writing, that wasn't like the forefront of anything. I was just seeing if I could finish something because I normally wrote short stories or poems, and I was like, let me see if I could finish a book. And when I originally started writing Planet Dead, which is like my flagship series, Catherine was white. And there was like this point where there's this big push for Black indie comic book creators, and I was like, oh, I'd love to be a part of something like that. And my wife, like, she was next to me, so she was like, well, why isn't Catherine Black? And like when she asked me that, I was already in the mindset that I was going to make like this ultimate final girl, and this was going to be this ultimate survivor story. And like the first thing that came out of my mouth was like, she can't be Black. And that's when I realized that although I love horror, I had been like brainwashed into thinking that my main character or a final girl couldn't be Black. And there are a lot of well, not a lot, but there are final girl representation in horror, but like they're few and in between. So once I saw what that did to me, I was just like, well, from now on, everything I'm going to do, I just want to showcase that Black women can be strong and can overcome things, because like I really do believe that horror is about survival, and I feel like there are no greater survivalists in like history than like the Black community. They have come so far from the horrors of the past. So that's just how I feel nowadays.
Well, and it's amazing that you said something, and the minute you said it, it's one of those, what the fuck did I just say?
Yeah,
I just said something that I would smack the shit out of somebody else for saying.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think it's amazing that you took that as a learning moment, and you were like, you know what? Yeah, this is what we're gonna do. And you were talking a little bit about your writing. And the good thing is, you guys don't have to go far to find any of it, because I have all of Sylvester's social media links, as well as the links for the books right down here in the description. So make sure you guys are following him on social media. Make sure you're checking these out. I promise you're not going to be disappointed. And another good thing about this is he's not done. He's just now taking that ride to the top. So make sure you're following him so you can see everything he has coming up down the pipeline. So we know what you're doing right now, but is there anything I know, again, when you're writing and you're doing stuff like that, there's NDAs and there's things you kind of want to keep under wraps, but is there anything that you do have coming up that you can tell us about?
That's funny that you say NDAs. I like signed my first NDA like a few weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Like,
I know it sucks because you're like, I signed it. Well, what's it about? Motherfucker, did you hear what I said? I signed an NDA.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I know that's a really cool feeling, man. When you get that NDA, you sign it, you're like, I've done it. This is something really, really special. So congratulations.
Yeah, like I was just mostly doing indie stuff, and now like I've signed a few publishing contracts and stuff. I do have one that's coming out next year. It's like it's pirates and zombies, but it's heavily focused on the transatlantic slave trade, and that is like the cause of the apocalypse. So that one atrocity in history is what causes the dead to come back to life. And I'm having a lot of fun with it because I did it different than my normal zombie things. It's just like headshots don't work. They're just dead. Like you decapitate them, they're still coming. The only way to really get rid of them is like flames and like incinerating the body. So I'm having fun with it.
Dude, that's really awesome. And I'm super proud of you because we've been trying to get this episode done for a long time. And obviously life happens, man, and things kept coming up. And I'm super proud of what you have coming up in the future. It's something that I'm very stoked for everybody else to see this too. So make sure, like I said, you guys, I'm going to remind you again at the end, but make sure you're following all these social media links that are down here in the description. So whether you're writing about horror or you're talking about horror, that had to start for you somewhere, Sylvester. So I would like to go back to the past and talk about how horror started for you, your first horror movie. And we can even say it 5 times if you would like. But Sylvester, your first horror movie was
Handyman. I'm not
I was kidding. Don't say it 5
you're not
times.
gonna get me. You're not gonna get me. We're good.
It's amazing because I was filming a role for a movie, and
Mhm.
we went to Chicago, and we went a day early so my wife and I could go and visit Cabrini Green.
Oh,
And it's sad when you go there,
yeah.
like the church, like that beautiful church, it's just been painted white. Like they painted all the
Mhm.
graffiti off of it. And it's just like,
Yeah.
it's a literal whitewashing of the place. And like
Mhm.
you go there, but you still feel it, man. Like I got little emo goosebumps right now because like
Yeah.
you could feel the presence of that movie when you're there. And you know that you're standing on part of history to us horror
Mhm.
fans. So do
Yeah.
you remember about how old you were the first time that you had seen Candyman?
I don't remember the exact age. I just have like a vivid memory of when I watched it. I remember being like a scaredy cat. Like I remember like my brother came home with 3D glasses and I was like, "Oh, I want to wear these." And he's like, "Yeah, I was watching Freddy with it." And I just boom, ran out the room, freaked out. But my sisters, they convinced me to sit down and watch this movie with them. And like I always kind of like, I don't know, justified or I made like loopholes for horror. Like Freddie couldn't get me because I didn't live on Elm Street. Jason couldn't get me because I didn't go to camp. Like Halloween in my head, he was just trying to kill his family, so that ain't got nothing to do with me. But like I was sitting down and I'm watching this movie, and it was just set in the projects, and I grew up in the projects, like, so I'm watching it in a project building. And the scene when they show that bathroom and they're trying to explain the history of Candyman and what happened to this little boy, like that park bathroom was like right, I could see it from my window because the park was right across the street and we had a graffitied up bathroom, and I was just like, that was it. I was just done. Like this man is definitely gonna get me. There's nothing stopping him from getting me. And yeah, so yeah, my sisters, they all deny it now, but they introduced me to Candyman, and that terrifying like sleep with the lights on feeling is what caused me to just seek out more horror and try and develop this thick skin. And it is why I am who I am today. So yeah.
And we talk about, and I'm going to say a word right now that everybody that watches this podcast or knows me as a human being knows I fucking hate, but woke. You know, people
Mm,
talk about wokeness in horror
mhm.
now. And I remember when they just did the Candyman remake, and a bunch of people were like, they made Candyman woke. And I'm like, have you fucking seen the original? Like, that's
Yeah.
what these movies are based on. And as a child watching this movie, I didn't pick up on any of that. You know what I mean? To
Hmm.
me, it was just, it was a scary movie. And the
Hmm.
scene you were just talking about with the little boy that got his dick cut off in the bathroom,
Yeah.
as a young man myself, that scene scared the hell out of me. That scene
Yeah.
scared me probably more than any other scene in the movie. Like that scene just stuck with me, man. Like you see
Hmm.
this little boy holding himself in a puddle of blood, and
Yeah.
no, no, thank
Yeah.
you.
Most definitely. Like like
And
yeah, I saw the whole like kind of back and forth on the internet about the new Candyman. They're like, oh yeah, it's woke, it's just propaganda. I was just like, I mean, it's pretty much what the original was. It's telling a black uh, um what is it, urban legend, the black
yeah,
horror that's like folklore. And so I just didn't see what they were complaining about. But
there's
uh
a line in the first movie where Helen is talking to the
mhm.
police, and she's like, "Black people die at Cabrini Green every day, and no one cares. But a white woman gets assaulted in the
Yeah,
bathroom, and the cops are there within five
yeah.
minutes." You know,
Hmm.
like those messages have always been a part of horror. It's just now people are getting upset because of the culture or whatever. And it's like, I'm sorry that
Yeah,
we have a movie that's based around African American people and their culture as well. I mean, oh
yeah,
my gosh, how dare we try to educate people on other things except our own?
yeah,
Um, so we talked a little bit about the bathroom scene, obviously, which is huge. But
yeah.
which scene was it, Sylvester, that affected you the most from Candyman?
That like impacted me the most. Let's
Yeah,
see. Like Um, I think I'd have to fast forward it to the end for when she's dying, when she's going in to get the baby out the bonfire and stuff. I don't know, Like when I first watched Candyman, I connected Candyman and Bloody Mary. I was just
Yeah.
like, that white lady's Bloody Mary. She's Bloody Mary now. But then, I rewatched it. I was like, I don't know where I got that from, but yeah. So that was a terrifying thing for me as a kid because I was sitting there and I was like, is this baby about to die?
Right.
And I had so many questions. I was like, how did baby survive so long? And I was like, he couldn't have been surviving on honey. That's ridiculous. But I guess they can. I don't know. But
Well, and you're right. 'Cause as kids, we're not looking at a lot of the messages that they
yeah,
have in the movie. As kids, we're watching a horror movie. That's it.
yeah,
That's all we care about. We don't need the higher stuff because that's above our pay grade when we're kids. We don't
hmm
understand that. But you
yeah,
see a baby in fire,
hmm
and holy shit. Um,
yeah.
and one thing I talk about now, I watched this movie as an adult, and I'm like, this is a fucking tragic love story.
Oh yeah,
And when you have the scene of him in the fire and Helen has the baby and he's like, come back to me.
yeah,
You're like, damn, Tony Todd, like you got bees all over you, a hook for a hand, you're
yeah.
burning, and I still care about you. Like I want you
Yeah.
to survive. So
It was definitely structured as this like kind of gothic romance. Like you just Tony Todd and the way he carried himself as Candyman, it was very seductive. It was very much he wants to kill Helen, but he loves Helen. It's the same. So it's just like it was very yeah, it was very powerful watching something like that. But then again, as a kid, I didn't pick up on that. I picked up on all
yeah.
that when I was older. I had I had my own questions. I was like, why does she care about her homework so much? I don't understand why she's going to the projects to do homework. This is ridiculous. I'm pretty sure my sisters told me to shut up a few times.
Right. You're like a guy with a hook for his hand that kills you in his dreams covered in bees. I get
Yeah.
it. Wanting
Yeah.
to do homework,
Yeah.
no way. This isn't.
I was
It's too
like,
fake.
she's traveling into the project so she could write a paper. I was like, no, that makes no sense.
Fairy tale.
Yeah.
So we know which scene, Sylvester, was that affected you the most. And this is a very dark movie, so it's hard to
Yeah.
have an answer to this question. But what would you say your favorite scene from Candyman is?
Like when Trevor got it, because even as a child, I knew Trevor needed to die. When Trevor got it, that was just satisfying. And then it just felt like, okay, yeah, she died, but she's not really dead. I mean,
Right.
I don't know why anyone would say Helen's name into a mirror a few times besides Trevor. But if they did that, like, I don't know. I guess I picture like Candyman and Helen in this like mirror world where it's just like nobody calls her. She just stays there all the time. But yeah, Trevor dying, that was very satisfying for me. And I also loved pretty much any scene with the little kid that was kind of like schooling Helen on like she was using a little kid for information. Like this was just so like not thought out. It's just I don't know. For me, it was just like, oh, tell me about Candyman. And by the way, what are the rules of the projects? Where should I not go? Like
It is amazing. And Clive Barker, I think, he did a great
oh
job with this movie.
yeah. Yeah.
And I would be remiss if I didn't give one shout out real quick to the scene.
Helen. Helen.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful.
It's so his voice is just like
yeah.
we were lucky enough to meet him, and he said my name like he did Helen, and I was just like, I can die. It's fine. I can sign out. I'm good. I'm good to go. We can go.
That is so awesome.
And we touched on it a little bit. Obviously, right now in Hollywood, the remake, the sequel, the requel is kind of all the rage right now.
Yep.
And I wouldn't really call the newest Candyman a remake. I would call it a requel because it does continue the story of the first one. So, did you watch it, and what were your thoughts on the Candyman requel?
I loved it. I loved before I even saw it, I loved the fact that we were picking up with the baby story and just seeing just like him like come born in the projects, born into this like disaster of a thing, and then just turning into artists and rising above it. I love that concept. And then like I sat and I watched the movie, and then they just to me, I felt like they just took it to another level because it wasn't just Candyman. It was just like a Candyman for every generation. There's a different Candyman. And I know a lot of people didn't dig that, but I felt like it made sense. And it also kind of like dives into like Cabrini Green or the land just being cursed. Like something tragic and racist is going to just keep happening here. And it's like it's soaked up into the ground and it's just replaying and recreating things. So I really loved that aspect. And I loved how it just showcased Black people in a different light. It's just like where there were artists and there were just like and it tackled gentrification, even though the original did that too. It talked about it a little bit. It talked about gentrification a little bit. The new one really rode out to it, and it's just like it's something that we see in the Black community like all the time. It's like it's something that just kind of like pops up, and you just talk about it. You talk about it when you talk about rent prices, when you're trying to figure out where to eat, or how that Starbucks just popped up here. It wasn't there last week. What happened? So it's like, yeah. So I loved it, and I really love the little animations of the Candyman, the stories. Like I think the one that hit me the most is the little boy who got electrocuted for his murders, which I feel like it's inspired by the true story of like the youngest kid to be put on death row. So like, yeah, I can't say enough good things about that movie. And I definitely think like a double feature back to back, it just flows very well and it's beautiful.
And one thing that I love about what you just said at the very beginning of this about the different Candyman, Candy men, Candy woman,
Yeah.
whatever, Candy them. When let's say you were born in New York, you went to Georgia. I'm a Detroit boy myself. What I look at as the boogeyman may not be the same thing that you see as the
Yeah.
boogeyman. They're the same boogeyman, but they may look different to each one of us from where we were. And I love the fact that there's these different candy man, candy women, candy everything, but it's all the same entity. And you get that at the end with Tony Todd. Tell everyone my name. I'm back. I said, and my opinion on this movie is weird. I absolutely adore the new Candyman. I think Nia DaCosta is a goddess. I think that her direction in this movie, I think that the cinematography of this movie is just, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. But I don't love it as a horror movie, if that makes any sense. Like it doesn't have the bone chilling be my victim or the little boy in the bathroom. Like it doesn't have those bone chilling moments to me that the original did. But it's beautiful. I love the movie. I don't love it as a horror movie, if that makes any sense at all. So
no, I understand that, but I guess that could come back to the whole your boogeyman is not the same as my boogeyman, because like I wouldn't say it's like balls to the wall like horror, but like the police rolling up on him, or the police just that Candyman where he was actually giving out candy to the kids and they just beat him to death in the laundry room. Like that's some terrifying stuff, and that's some things that are horrifying to me most definitely but
I was gonna say that's almost like the Get Out thing where I know, and I'm not trying to be condescending. Get Out, Candyman, these movies aren't made for me as a 36-year-old straight white man. These movies are not made for me. I can watch these movies and I can get scared and I can enjoy them and I can get that adrenaline. But the main facets of the story, I can't be scared of because I've never actually felt that type of fear. I can have empathy, I can have, a place in my heart for, I respect where this is coming from. But for me to come out and say, I know, that's like me telling another parent that lost their kid, I know what you're going through. I don't.
No.
And, like you said, with the police, when they're talking to the girl in the car, at the end, and they're like, he came right at us, pretty much telling her, and it's like, I've never in my life heard a movie. We went opening night at midnight, and I've never heard a theater erupt with cheers and applause as much as I have when that cop was killed. Everybody really, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Asian, gay, straight, trans. that was a shitty dude, and you were ready for him to die.
Yeah.
And so I can, like I said, I respect the movie. I love the movie, but the horror aspects don't affect me as much. They do on an empathy level, but not a straight fear level.
Yeah. I feel like in Get Out, when we had that moment where you saw the red, white, and the red and blue lights, everybody had that gas moment because everybody, no matter your race, you're just kind of like, I know where this is going. And I feel like Candyman had those same elements, but they did it more on a culture-based level than a wide frame level. Like, yeah, so that's just kind of how I felt. But I definitely can see how some people would be like, oh, this isn't like horror. But I mean, I feel that way about Jordan Peele, period. Like, I feel like his things are thrillers sometimes. It's just like, sometimes it'll be like, I don't know about this. It's great. It's great.
Did you see the alternate ending to Get Out?
Oh yeah, that was terrible. I would have rioted. Like,
Dude,
I'm very happy it did not end that way.
For those of you that haven't seen it, I have the link to the alternate ending to Get Out in the description as well. Before you watch it, I'm going to put a trigger warning here. It's dark. It is very dark, and he made the right choice with the ending that he put on the film.
Yeah, he definitely did. It's just like I learned about the alternate ending to You're Next. I would have rioted for that one too.
Oh. It's fun. Like, just like, Get Out, You're Next. The Blair Witch Project has 5 alternate endings. To go and watch them and just see the different ideas they had. But ultimately, I feel like all 3 of them chose the right one. There's been one movie I could think of where I like the alternate ending more, and that was actually Pet Sematary 2019, the Pet Sematary remake. I actually dig the alternate ending more. So
I don't think I saw that alternate ending.
I like it better. I'll say that much. I like it better.
The only movie I think I liked the alternate ending better was Butterfly Effect. Like, I love the Butterfly Effect alternate ending better.
The one when he's in the womb?
Yeah. I love that one better because I felt like it tied everything up nicely instead of the whole I passed there on the sidewalk thing. I was like, this. I was okay with dark then. Like,
that was a dark ending, man. But I get it. I love that ending too.
Yeah.
So Sylvester, we talked about your first horror movie, obviously, and what Candyman means to you. But now my little buddy Ghostface is here, and he has a question for you. What's your favorite scary movie, Sylvester? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
Okay, so my favorite horror movie of all time is definitely gonna have to be Scream. It will. Like, I love slasher movies. I'm a zombie person, but when you, like, if you're gonna tell me I can only watch one horror movie forever and ever in a day, or one franchise forever and ever a day, it's got to be Scream. It's got to be Sydney. Sydney is the queen of Final Girls. Like, me and my wife argue about it all the time. She's just like, no, Laurie is. And I was just like, everyone that goes up against Sydney ends up in a casket. It's the end. Like, you don't get a part 2 with Sydney.
Laurie's died twice in that franchise, okay?
Yeah.
Sydney's never died. Yeah, she's kept kicking.
Yeah, how many years has Laurie had to kill Michael? She knows who this is. Sydney has to figure out who it is every other day. So
she's always facing Ghostface, but it's always a different person under that mask. And I'm very excited for Scream 6. I'm cautiously optimistic. Obviously, I love the New York setting. I love the teaser trailer that we just got. I thought it was really nice. Had a lot of really nice Easter eggs throughout of it. I'm still very nervous for, no Sydney in the film has me very, very nervous. So
I feel
see what happens.
I don't know if it was a Mandela effect, but I swore they said they came to an agreement and she was going to be in it. But now everybody's like, no, she's not. So I'm of the mindset that she's going to be in it, and she's probably going to be the opening death.
See, I could see, because I don't think she'll die, because they've already said that there's going to be a Scream 7. So I think that Scream 7 will go back to being Sydney's movie. But if she is in this, I could see like the very ending, like the phone call, like, hey, it's me, Sydney.
Yeah.
We got, there's someone here in Woodsboro too. So maybe something's been happening at the same time in Woodsboro, something like that.
The only reason I think that she could die is because they've already set up the the work for this new generation of Scream. And they already took out Dewey. So I mean, like this, the iconic three's down to two. So I could see her dying in the new one.
Or
I
you
could
take out Gail and maybe Sydney dies at the end of Scream 7.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody hate me for this, but I have no emotional attachment to Gail. So like they could take Gail, I'd be fine.
Ever
Like
since the bangs in 3, my emotional attachment to Gail has just been gone. I lost all emotional attachment when I seen those bangs.
I just felt like she just kept writing these books and it just kept happening. Someone needed to stop her. Like,
right. Damn it, Gail.
Yeah.
And I am a fan of Scream as well. I think that I've said this numerous times. I think that Child's Play is my favorite horror franchise of all time. But I think that Scream is consistently the best horror franchise. When you got 5 films with the quality that each one has. And everybody, Scream 3 is terrible. It's not. It's the worst of the bunch. But if you make 5 movies and your worst movie is Scream 3, you've done, trust me, I've watched Jason Takes Manhattan. I've seen Freddy's Dead. I've watched Halloween 6. Trust me, you can do way worse than Scream 3. So
like Child's Play and Scream. Like I was a big Child's Play fan, and I think it got to like Seed, and then I kind of fell off. But with the TV show coming and how they didn't ignore anything, they just kept it going. I felt like with that, it made it a solid franchise. It really just stuck by its roots. And Scream is also a solid franchise because you're right. You could look at the big 3 or the big 4 and everybody knows it's the first ones and probably like the last few ones, and then there's all this crap in between, like, so everybody knows that. I mean, Jason went to space, okay, so there's no argument for him.
Listen, and it's funny because everybody's like, man, Jason X is such a good movie. Like, there's this like cult following behind it now. And I'm still that person that's like, I'm good. There's funny moments in it, I guess, but it's just so Lifetime movie budget for me that I can't get into it.
Oh, yeah. It definitely felt like one of those movies that was just in the video rental store and you weren't sure if it went to theaters. So just like Leprechaun went to, like, I thought Freddy was going to go, and I was like, I don't see why he would. But it seems like the trend right now. So
we've had Jason, we've had Leprechaun, and we've had Pinhead. So, and I do want to say, there is a scene, and everybody knows what I'm about to say. There's a scene in Leprechaun Goes to Space where they talk about how fucked up and nasty Detroit is. So I was like, I'm out. I am proud of my city, man.
All right.
My city.
All right.
So we've had an amazing time talking about your first horror movie, your favorite horror movie, the amount of books you've written, and I'm so proud of you for that. And you got more amazing things coming up in the future. But before I let you go, I always go back to the same question. And I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway, Sylvester. We're going to go back to Candyman. And what we're going to do is we're going to rank this movie on a skull count. Now, we're not ranking it on acting, production, score, direction, nothing like that. We're strictly ranking Candyman on how much it affected you on your first viewing. So 0 skulls being not effective, 5 being extremely effective. You can use half and quarter skulls anywhere in the middle. Sylvester, what would your ranking of Candyman be?
After Candyman, I got locked in the bathroom with the lights off and they screamed Candyman over and over again. So it was a 5. It was a 5. I was very traumatized that night. So, yeah. And you can ask my sisters now, they'll deny it. But I remember, like, I didn't do this to myself.
And I'm going to say to your sisters right now, they may have gotten a world of, what the hell were you thinking? I'm going to say because only the best get their younger siblings started in horror. So,
yes, most definitely.
Yeah. So I again want to say thank you. And I said it again. And I told you guys, I was going to tell you at the end. All the links are down here in the description. So make sure you're clicking these links. Make sure you're following him. Make sure you're staying up to date on everything that he has coming up. So we are at the end of the 3rd act. The credits are about to roll and the curtain's about to drop. So thank you guys for coming out. Sylvester, please don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you.
All right.
Everybody else, as always, keep talking horror. Stay what you are. And we'll see you guys soon.